Alrighty, well, welcome to this week's Talk or Ask Us Anything. We've got a bit of news this week. It's been a pretty big news week. One of the, I guess, somewhat exciting things for us in WA, or at least in Australia and WA, is the fact that we now have a shop online with free delivery to anyone in Australia. So this morning, when it was opened, it didn't take payment properly, but we reported that to Tesla and they fixed it pretty quickly. So you've basically got various vehicle accessories, including for the Model 3, something that's finally come through is a key fob.
Wow.
For $220. So yes, you can just buy that and that's free delivery to your house. And that basically gives the same functionality as the S's and X's get with automatic keyless entry. You don't need to put a prox card anywhere in particular. You can just have that key in your pocket. And you can also, if you press and hold the boot button, it will unlatch your Type 2 cable. If it's not, say, a destination charger, or if it's a fast DC plug. And you've obviously got apparel, and strangely, there's the women's section's got a bit more choice than the men's. So for the men, you only get the corporate jacket and a couple of tees. Get a Cybertruck one, bulletproof tee, the plaid, and a corporate jacket and a few hats. But the ladies get a few nicer choices apart from the normal Cybertruck tee. They've also got some hoodies, even a Cybertruck hoodie, and the corporate jacket and hats. So yeah, that's one of the pieces of news. And of course, I guess we've all seen the minor refreshes of the well, the whole range really. Yeah. With the 3s getting, I think, new wheels and some interior. I think the center console is slightly changed.
That's correct. Yeah, they're getting free, wireless charging. Front, I think it's automated. So, yes, it's quite a few upgrades for the Model 3.
Yeah, cool. Which is great because that should. Oh, now the other big news too is that there was a report that Model 3s were being dispatched to Zeebrugge in Europe, in the Netherlands. I think it's Netherlands. So they're actually shipping Model 3s to Europe from Shanghai as we speak.
That's right, yeah.
Which is going to be interesting, hopefully, for Model 3s coming here. And then, of course, what we really want to know about is whether the upcoming Model Y will come here as well, which we're obviously all hoping for.
And there's a big price drop too for the Model 3, back to the old price, I guess. About $200 difference, I think.
Yeah, it's about $73,000 roughly.
Yeah.
For an SR Plus on the road.
Yep.
In Poverty Pearl White.
Yep.
Which is pretty cool. And I presume all the other prices have come down on the performance versions. They've also
very slight difference in prices for the other two, but the Model 3 SR Plus has got the biggest drop. Back to where it was before the
Which really makes sense because the Australian dollar has recovered a lot from when it sunk sort of early this year.
That's right. Yeah.
Notwithstanding any cost decrease in production, at least the currency variation really is now evaporated. And as we know, Tesla doesn't hedge currencies, so they basically if the currency improves, they'll have a slight win, and if it worsens until they change the price, they'll have a slight loss.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. Anyone else with any news?
The Hummer came out, was released, the electric Hummer. So it looks
that's right.
quite, it looks quite impressive on the specs until you have a look at the price.
Price, yeah, the price.
Was it 120,000 US for the?
A little bit more, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it said starting at 80,000 something.
They have a base version which is starting at 70,000 something US, but that's not going to be available until 2024.
Oh,
So, but
wonderful.
by that time, we'll have self-driving Cybertrucks roaming around.
Yes, indeed. You've got. Oh, actually, one thing that was cool, if you can see that on the video, is when it crabs. I thought that was actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think that's coming up in a sec.
But it doesn't seem to have, and yes, and you can make it into a convertible. You can take the sky roof off.
Yes.
Pretty cool feature.
Of course, when you wait for it to come and do its crab mode, it's not going to do it for us. Oh no, that's not going to do it on that video. Must be the one further down. Oh, there you go. That one.
Oh yes.
It's actually pretty cool, to be honest. Oops. What a killer app. That itself is almost worth it. And I think the prices are at the bottom.
But what I think is cooler is the tank turn. What's the GM truck? Oh, the Amazon. Oh, what are they?
I'm not sure.
The Rivian.
Rivian, that's it.
Oh,
yeah. The Rivian can do a tank turn, so it can turn on its own axis.
yes.
With the four motors. Yeah, spin each wheel.
Something that's really strange is you see the shark fin, and I'm thinking, couldn't they have put the radio antenna in the car and not do BMW style with a shark fin? That was a bit weird.
Especially for a ute or a truck. So a lot of people want to have their reef racks up there or what have you.
Yep.
So it's just going to get in the way, isn't it?
Or if you go through the bush and you have branches going across your car, you might potentially damage it.
Absolutely, good point.
There's the pricing. So yeah, as Pete said, it's basically just under 80K for the, and that's in 4 years time, 3 years time. And the 112,000 and a half.
112, was it? Okay.
Yeah, 112.
Still, what's the top of the top model Cybertruck's around 70,000, isn't it?
Yeah,
US?
in WA it'll be about 135 for the plaid. That's including on roads, on the road in WA, 135 Aussie. So even if you just took that 112 and just did a dollar Aussie dollar, what's the name?
Forex conversion.
Forex conversion. That's 150, nearly 150.
160, yeah.
Start. Yeah. Yep. I presume it'll be exempt of LCT because of its cargo carrying capacity. But
That's
still.
interesting. Interesting. They haven't. I couldn't find it anywhere. The towing capacity. It seems like they've just kept that to themselves for the time being.
I thought I saw something about some. No, you're right too. Yes, there is nothing about, and nothing about what you can put in the back. But as long as it's sort of more than, how many seats has it got? It's got 5 seats.
Yeah.
So as long as it can hold more than 400 kilos in the tray, which it will undoubtedly be able to do, it'll be fine. because all you do is you just count up the number of seats, in this case 5, you multiply it by 80 kilos, and that's the human capacity. And as long as the tray capacity exceeds the human capacity in weight, then it's deemed to be a commercial vehicle. Given that it doesn't hold more than 9 passengers, which is the other way you can get commercial vehicle exemption for LCT. Oh, it's got Super Cruise.
Yeah,
You know what else it's got? Do you know what else it's got?
What's that?
It's vaporware. I call it now, it's vaporware. The Rivian truck is far superior, except for one reason. The Rivian truck's not far. That thing has one advantage over Rivian truck. You know what it is?
Go on.
When you open the front trunk, it doesn't have a lip. That's it.
Right. Well, the interior is very GMC bling bling.
Yeah, that screen was added on just the day before.
Goldie bits. Well, it could be a CAD drawing. Who knows?
Yeah. The Rivian truck is far superior than that.
Yeah, I agree.
Cheaper, but it does look awesome. This is the first time I've seen it.
Yeah, it does look.
It may look good, but the aerodynamics are garbage. It's not going to get 580 kilometers range.
It won't be the best truck in the market, but I think for some people, that's what they'll go for, and they wouldn't otherwise have gone for an EV.
What's weird is you see that the guy just had to this guy had to manually take the glass roof off.
Yeah.
And yet Tesla's got Model Ys that do that automatically.
Yeah, it is a good point.
I just got that joke.
Yeah, so yeah, that's a good scoop there, Pete. That's So the Hummer's, well, it's not out, but it's released. So the more the merrier.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I agree with Rob. I actually doubt whether, if they sell any, it'll be a very small number. I can't imagine people paying twice the price of a Cybertruck for that. You know,
that's probably more directly in competition with the Rivian, though.
Perhaps.
And I agree with Rob. I think the Rivian's going to be a good practical truck. But at the end of the day, that price, people might not like the styling of the Cybertruck, but if you're talking 70, 75 Aussie on the road for the basic one, that's pretty compelling.
Yeah. The 40K US.
Yeah, the 40K US, which should be 75 grand. That's going to get, people are going to look at it and go, yeah, I want a Hummer or a Rivian, but they look at the price and then you go, right, where's my bang for buck?
Speaking to Rob's vaporware statement, you notice here it says performance targets, estimates, and capability specifications based on CAD analysis and simulation using virtual engineering tools. Estimates may vary depending on model and trim. Actual production model and results may vary. Sort of sounds like one of those medicine type ads or vitamin ads, or cleaning product ads.
That's right. But even if you have a look at the range, it doesn't say EPA or anything like that. So
estimated. Yep.
Yeah, estimated by by GM presumably. So.
And 350 miles for the very largest version, the dearest version, is not that fantastic compared to 500 miles for a Cybertruck.
Exactly. Yeah.
And 0 to 60 in approximately 3 seconds. Well,
that's not bad.
That's not bad, but the
Cybertruck's under 2.9, they say.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's not bad. Yeah.
There you go. So, any other news lately?
Target West tomorrow.
Oh yes, yes. And I notice, I see that Johnny Edwards is there. So John, tell us all about it.
Okay, so I've got some very important notes here that I've made for people that would like to support the event a little bit in some way or other. So for those that don't know, we're entering a Tesla Model 3 performance into a basically an ice dominated. There it is. Yeah, Rob's got the backdrop there. Very good. And we did very well in Targa Southwest, and we basically cleaned up the field in the category that we're in. There's a couple of things if you guys can pass on to your members. First one is, if you can't get there but you just want to see how the results are going, there's a website called rallyresults.com. You can log on there, and it's got all the rallies going on in Australia, and you look for Make Smoking History Targa West. That's the event over the next 4 days. And Lunsman is, and then you'll see that's the Tesla Model 3. So Jürgen Lunsman is the driver, and his wife Helen is the co-driver. And you'll be able to see, as they are clicking up or clocking up results, you'll be able to see where they sit with the other cars in the same category, right? So we've got a Holden Commodore with another husband and wife team who are very good drivers. Jürgen knows them pretty well. The car's about the same weight, but it definitely hasn't got the get off the line performance of the Model 3, especially if we've got the battery topped up. So that's going to keep Jürgen on his toes. So rally results, if we can get a message out to members to watch that and take an interest, it'd be great. The second thing is there's one of the Model 3 guys, Peter McMullen, has arranged 4 tracking devices. One of them's in the Model 3 already, and then we're getting one in each of the 3 charging support vehicles. So it'll be the Kona, my BT50 with a generator on it, and we've got a trailer with a V-fill on it. Not letting Harold outdo us. We've got a friggin' big generator and a V-fill on a trailer, which between those 3 charging assets, we're hoping to keep the Model 3 topped up and the battery voltage up and in top performance. So all those 4 things, hopefully by the end of tomorrow, you'll be able to look at on this tracking app. And I've sent an email to you, Harold, and also Chris Jones as well, with that you can pass on to your members if they want to take the time to. Okay, so that's rally results. Yep,
and then it's just here, Make Smoking History Rally.
Yeah, so we just click on there. You'll be able to see results on there when they start coming in.
Cool, yeah, go on, John.
All right. So anyway, that email I sent you, it's only half an hour ago. So if you can pass that on to everyone, if you're interested in tracking what's going on Google Maps or whatever, you'll see the charging spots and you'll see the cars and the vehicles moving around. So that's
it was literally 7:15. Yep, no worries.
Yeah. Well, it's all just happening in the last minute. It's all coming together, so that's good. So the third item is, if anybody's got free time and wanting to support the Model 3, over the 4 days, I'll just give you the key times. And what we're trying to do is, when the car's sort of at a lunch break or a service break or a time where people can look at it, we're trying to get as many electric car drivers or EV people, whatever, to come and crowd around it, because there's all the optic, right? So all these guys with their old Mustangs and all these clunkers and everything else, and they all got their standard lines saying, well, have you got an extension cord long enough to get from Kalamunda to bloody 2G? Yes, I've got a 5 kilometre extension cord, don't worry. So all those guys are there, but then they're all noticing that most of the interest is around the electric car, right? So that's the optic that we're trying to generate. So Thursday, I don't know if you want to note it down, Harold, and send it out to your members or whatever, but so tomorrow the car will be at Forest Place around about 10 a.m. in the city, and they have a bit of a show and shine thing there And if you're in the city or want to go to the city and have a look at the car and crowd around it, I won't be there at that point. You're going to be there with the car. So that's around 10ish to probably till about 11. And then they head up to Whiteman Park, and that's where we'll be ready with the charging equipment. So from 12:30 to about 1:30 on tomorrow, in the Whiteman Park Village, the car will be coming in for service. We'll be charging it. We'll be doing all those things. And if we can get people to park somewhere, there'll be public parking around, come in and crowd around the car. That'd be great, right? And then in the evening, Ellenbrook, we'll be there between 6 and 7. There'll be a lot of action in Ellenbrook, and same thing, service park. It'll be obvious where it is. And just park your car somewhere and walk down there and, show some support. So Friday is the big one, is Kalamunda, right? So roughly 12:30 to 1:30, the main street in Kalamunda is going to be closed off, and all the rally cars will be lining up. And we've got.
What time was it again, John?
Well, roughly 12:30. Well, 12:30 to 1:30, or 12 to 2, or whatever, that kind of lunchtime period. So it's a 1 hour service in the middle of the rally. There's a lot of stuff going on in the morning, and then they come in, but it's a hand tool service. Nobody else is allowed a service vehicle in there except us. We've got dispensation to bring the Kona in there because that's our opportunity to give the car a charge. So we'll be the only service vehicle in there. We'll be next door to the Model 3. We'll be charging it, and that's going to be a great opportunity to crowd around the car, ask questions about what's going on here, how come that car is charging that car, and deliver that optic to all the petrol people that this is what's happening in the future. Later on Friday, after lunch, we'll be at there's a road called Croxton Drive or Croxton Road, just out of Kalamunda. It's on the way to the Mundaring Weir.
So how do you spell that, John?
Croxton. Croxton. I think it's drive, but last time I looked at the thing, it said road. But anyway, that's where we'll be doing charging of Jürgen before he heads off down the stage. So that's another. If you're going all the way to Kalamunda and want to have a bit of a look around the afternoon, fair enough. Having said all this, on the Targa West website, there is a Spectator's page. If you want to go and look at different places where the cars are turning corners or the zigzag and this and that, have a look at that. It gives you all the times. I think there's a free bus that goes from Kalamunda out to the zigzag during the event. So there's a lot of very good Spectator info on there if you're interested. So Saturday, 2J Town Centre, same thing, about 12 to 1. We'll be having a service in town, and same thing. We're trying to get people crowding around the car if people can come up there and have a look. But the big day is Sunday, all right? So we start up in Malaga, and Malaga is really great, all right? So Commercial Street in Malaga is the service park, and from that service park you can see heaps of action. The cars go up and down Malaga Drive. They do it. There's a big sharp U-turn. A lot of the petrol cars are doing slides and all sorts of tricks on that corner. It's right there. It's really good. We'll be charging the electric car on Commercial Street there, and they have some burnout activity going on as well. It's actually pretty. So 9 to 11 in Malaga, there's lots to see and lots to do, and the electric car will be on Commercial Street getting charged. And then we head down to Langley Park, all right? Now, in the morning, there's a couple of other Model 3 guys, so Darren and Nigel. There's a city sprint event going on, which is also Targa West. Those boys have entered that, good on them. So they'll be in the morning doing Langley Park, and we're going to send my BT down there to support that activity. And then we get down there at about 12:30, between 12:30 and 2:30, the Model 3 will be doing the competition activity.
So 12:30 to 2:30.
12:30 to 2:30 is a good time to find a park in town and walk down to Langley Park, and all the lineups are on, what is it, the Esplanade. So you can walk across Langley Park, and it's you know, the Model 3 will be there in the lineup on the Esplanade. So it's just nice when lots of people crowd around, because that gives the optic to all the others. Why is everyone so interested in that thing? And hopefully we're getting some good results as well, so that encourages people to come and ask questions. So yeah, if we can get that kind of message out to you got Langley Park there.
Yeah, I've got, this is just the Tiger West website, and when you went, I actually went to download, it's on the front page, and the first part is download Spectator guide here.
Right.
So this thing's actually pretty cool. You've got basically all the times for the stages and which page they're on.
Yeah.
And you've got the maps. I think the Langley Park was towards the bottom.
Yeah, Langley, yeah.
That's
So,
Malaga, so that's the Malaga one. So commercial is...
so that's the race. Hang on, where are we? Victoria Road, Malaga Drive. Right. Not sure. Just
You got Rose Street. That's a,
actually, if you go,
you go.
yeah, Rose Street's where the stage starts.
Yes.
See just where your arrow, just turn your arrow to the right a little bit from there. The yellow thing, the yellow with people, that's brilliant spectating there. And that's Service Park as well. That's Commercial Street.
Oh yes, it is. Sorry, yes, you're right. Too right, yes.
And that there's another map that shows the Service Park, but it's probably not for. But that's where it's great viewing, and it's also where the Model 3 will be charging. The Kona will be charging the Model 3, right? So that's a great spot to try and get there somehow, right?
And then Langley Park, that's the city sprint.
Yeah, so Langley Park, these dotted lines down at the bottom left-hand corner is where the cars will all be lining up. And then the solid line, that's the stage they'll be racing, right? Yeah. So anywhere around that stage is good for viewing if you're interested in racing. But the dotted lines is where Jürgen will be. He'll be lined up along there waiting to start his next race. And the Kona's got approval to come up alongside him and charge him up, right? And that's the activity that we're trying to get. If people are around, come down and say hello and ask a few questions. And it's not on this map, a bit further back to the right, there's the corner of Plain Street and the Esplanade. That's where the BT50 is going to be with Richard Baird's going to be driving that. And with a generator and a 25 kilowatt delta on it, and that's going to be our top up if we need it on that day.
Cool. And you got the entry list, and it's going to be a bit too small to work out where Jürgen is, but no,
hang on. Well, he's in Targa 130. So Targa 130.
Gemtech, Jürgen. There we go. Number 24.
Landsman, yeah, he's 24. Model 3 performance. Yeah.
Yep.
So it's which one there is the?
Oh, sorry. It was just here. If you see me waving on the 24.
Yeah.
I'll just do it to the top of the page. There, top of the page. 24.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. So
awesome.
Yeah. So
well, we'll get that info out, John, and obviously everyone's welcome. I'm sad to say that I can't make it because I won't even be. Yeah. Anyway, it's a long
No,
story. But
no, we'll just send it out. Just send it out to everyone, and whoever can make it. You know, or it's got a bit of time, or over the next 4 days, you know, show your face. Every little bit helps.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm away at work as well, unfortunately.
but this is a good guide. It's got all the stages.
Well, this shows you where all the spectator points are, which is those yellow circles. So if you want to get up there and have a look around, then they're the spots to have a look. But honestly, if you're an electric car enthusiast like me, I get a bit bored sitting there watching all these petrol cars go by, and then you see one Tesla whiz by, and that's it. It's actually more. There's more to be gained by hanging around those times I told you when we're lined up and we're charging and the car's there and people are crowding around. For me, that's more valuable than actually getting out there on those. We've got Ken Hall on the team. He's going to be doing a bunch of videoing, and he's going to make a really excellent video for us. So he did a great job in Southwest, and he's done an excellent job of that. And I've asked him to join the team to do that for this one. So I'm hoping we'll get a nice little, couple of minute clip with lots of bits and pieces in it that are exciting and good for everyone to, get the feel of what went on. So.
Yeah, cool. Nice work. Yeah, and I mean, all the very best to your car and to Jürgen.
Yeah, well, thanks a lot. Going on behind the scenes, we've got a team of like 6 charging support crew. So I called out to the Tesla community, and I got some Model 3 guys put their hands up, and we've got 3 vehicles running around supporting the competition car. So it's been very heartwarming, the help that I've been getting from all these people, which is great.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's it's the least that anyone in the group can do is to help out, and yeah, it's great fun.
And 2 of them ordered high temperature brake pads, so that's a good sign.
Oh no, so there'll be more of them going around.
Well, let's hope so.
Yes, absolutely. But I guess, well, actually, interesting. You say brake pads. Do you have to change the discs themselves? Are you going that sort of to that extent?
We were just the learning on brakes with this. My experience since we started doing this is the original Tesla brake pads. We just absolutely roasted them. Just kind of one session down at Collie Motorplex. Like there's about 10 millimeter of material on the front pads, and we just totally cooked them in one session. And then we had to get some new ones and put on there, and we were doing other, not so difficult stuff at the Motorplex here in Kwinana. But then we machined the discs and we put these new high temperature brake pads on. Yep. And the discs are performing much better. The discs aren't getting grooved or colored or anything, and the pads are just lasting, and the braking performance is really good. So Jürgen's it's just really good. It's worked out really well. So I've machined the front discs twice and the rear discs once, and we're still within spec. And I've got a full set of new discs off Tesla to just in case we crack one or something happens, we can, want to rebuild the car at the end of all this anyway. So they weren't that expensive. I think we've got a full set of discs, pads, seals. It was about $1,500. It wasn't much, so I was pretty happy with that.
Yeah, cool. What other mods have you had to do to the car, like major mods?
So we wanted to run 18-inch wheels, but we've got the track pack performance brakes, and the 18-inch wheels don't quite fit on there.
Yep.
So we had to do a little bit of in situ machining on the there's a couple of casting lumps on the back of the brake calipers that we had to take off. So we've done that. So 18-inch wheels now go on there. And so I bought a set of 18-inch wheels out of Melbourne. Someone had them on eBay. And then Bill Sinclair's lent me his wheels we've got a couple of different types of tyres. And Bill's running around with my 20-inch wheels on his car. So it's worked out pretty nice.
Yep.
We took the Tesla seats out, front seats out, because to do this category of competition, we need a 5-point harness. So we put racing seats in there and put a bar between the rear door pillars to support the harness system. So we've got the 5-point harness, racing seats, 18-inch wheels, high temperature brake pads. Pretty much that's all the mods. We've done nothing to the powertrain or anything like that.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Excellent. So hopefully that, yeah, like you say, there will be others that will come behind you and join in.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, one of our biggest learnings in the early days was we went down to Motorplex Kwinana and they're short runs, 3.4 kilometre circuits. And originally, we didn't take any charging gear with us. We just said, we've got enough to get around and do the 4 laps without a problem, which we did, and it was all good. But then we took some charging gear down there and we topped up between each run, and we got significant improvement in times, right? No difference in driver or tyres or anything. And if we can keep the battery above 70%, we get a lot better performance out of it. So that's why so much effort being put into having charging available at the right place, at the right time for this competition.
Yeah, absolutely. That really is the key, isn't it?
Yeah. So, and some of the Saturday, if you look at the Targa West website, you look at the itinerary for Saturday, you know, we've got some 20-kilometre stages that basically, you know, that Saturday's going to be the hardest day for us, because going flat out for 20 Ks, you know, we get through the battery pretty quickly. So
yeah, it'd be lovely to have a supercharger stall on the back of a truck.
it would be nice. So I'm just hoping one day we can make that happen. But just for now, 50 kilo. This is the most firepower we've ever taken out on one of these competitions. So 50 kilowatt. We've got 2 lots of 50 kilowatt charging facilities and a 20 kilowatt. So we've got 120 kilowatts of mobile charging assets running around.
And your Kona does about 50 kilowatts, doesn't it?
Yes, Kona's good. The good thing about the Kona is because of the C-Tech, it doesn't have all this startup time and goes through all this checking of itself. Chinese, they don't care, right? They start up and just start charging, which is really good, because I just pull up alongside you, going to plug in, turn it on, starts charging straight away. It all works. Whereas the V-Fuel, we've got to start the generator. The V-Fuel's got to go through a 5-minute countdown. Sometimes it's not happy, you have to reset it, and another 5-minute. So you really got to start at 15 minutes before you want to use it. But that's okay, we can manage that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, there's always a chance that you might get a faster DC converter, like basically double up, get 100 kilowatts.
Yeah.
Back of the Kona.
Well, down the track.
Awesome.
See how we go.
Cool. Well, we're definitely looking forward to that. Like I said, unfortunately, I'll have to watch it vicariously, but I'll certainly enjoy doing that. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, mate, just spread the word out to our members, and if anyone's got some time and want to go for a spin on the weekend, I think the weather's going to be all right. So,
yep.
If you need a charge, if you're out of 2, Joe, you need a charge. Well, we've got plenty of charges around. So.
Yes, I was going to say, no one should leave their car sort of unlocked anywhere near John, because he might start hot wiring it, hooking up a a charger to it.
Well, the funny thing about that is because we had some learnings of Southwest about unlocking the charging plug off the Tesla, and sometimes we had some difficulties in car, difficulty doing that, and I ended up unlocking it with my phone. So since then, I've given 5 people permission to operate the car. So we've got 5 opportunities to unlock the charging port, but they can also unlock the car and drive the car as well. So yeah.
It's a bit late for you now, John, but that's the classic case for this thing right here.
Yeah, I need one. I'm going to get one.
So, and it's $220 delivered to your door, but I dare say it won't be delivered by tomorrow, but Tesla finally has them available.
No, I think we're good for this time. We've got 5 people with phones that can operate the charge port, and there's several keys around as well. So we should be good.
Cool. Awesome.
If we
John,
sorry.
Just a quick question. I remember last time you were on, you were mentioning that Jürgen spent a lot of his time and attention trying to keep the speed below 130.
Yeah.
Have you had any luck with that at all? Or
Nigel, who was it? Somebody wrote a message to Tesla. Who was that? That was you, Harold, was it?
Yeah, no, that was us. Yeah, we did that. Yeah.
Yeah, to see if we could get a speed limiter in performance mode.
Track mode, yeah.
That hasn't happened. But what Jürgen's done is we've put a pickup on the front axle, and we've got a racing dash that's stuck inside the car that it's got visual lights that come up like that. So he doesn't actually have to look and process a number. He can see the lights coming together. As they touch, that's 130. If it goes over, it starts to flash or it does something, it's what the racers use to manage their speed. So he still has to manage the throttle and manage that speed, unfortunately. So, but he can do it a lot more efficiently with that than watching trying to watch the speedo. So that's the best we can do at this point in time.
And clearly, hopefully, Tesla will basically implement what is a pretty simple software change on track mode to just set a maximum speed.
Well, one would hope so, but let's think about it. He doesn't have to change any gears, right? I mean, he doesn't have to do much, right? Like he's got to steer and control the throttle, whereas all these other boys have got to make sure they're in the right gear and the right revs and all the other carry on. So no, he's fine. We got Southwest. We got pinged a few points because he went over for a little bit, but we'll get a bit of that. But it's he's not going to go massively over, and he doesn't want to go massively under either because that's wasting time. So
yeah, exactly.
How do they know he was over?
Well, there's a device called Rally Safe, or there's an organisation called Rally Safe. There's a device put in all these cars.
Right.
And it's all monitored. All rallies going on everywhere in Australia get monitored, and that's how it's that information they get pinged on over speed. And same with when they're not on a stage. If they're driving around a public road to get from one stage to the next stage, if they speed, right, if they go over their speed, they get pinged big time. So it's constantly monitored and recorded. So.
Yeah, and Jürgen was saying that they use it as a safety feature so that, say, if you depart the course and then sort of come to a sudden stop, that's all monitored as well. And I think there's also isn't there a panic button or some other sensor that if you roll the car or something, it automatically will send an SOS?
I'm not full bottle, but I'm sure there would be, right? Because they pretty much, if somebody has a crash, they're onto it instantly.
Yep.
And it may even be the car behind. It's only like a few, 10 or 15 seconds behind. Might be the one that presses the panic button. So yeah, I'm not full bottle on the rally safe, but all those features are built in.
I know on the mine sites at the moment, they're implementing these in-vehicle management systems, IVMSs, and they do all that. You know, they track your speed, plotted against the maps, both on public roads and within the mine to check your speed against the posted sign limits. But they've now even got an inwards facing dash cam in them, so it's permanently looking at your eyes and if your eyes stray off the road, or if you blink for longer than a second and a half, all of that, you know.
Okay.
The seat vibrate and send the copy of it to your supervisor and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, the technology is definitely there.
Right. Yeah, that was cool. It's all good.
Big brother is really amongst us all.
Yeah, always watching you.
Just one thing I'd like to say before we finish on this. I see Bill Sinclair's on his. We can't see his face, but he's listening in. Bill's been magnificent. Like, he works down at the Kwinana, like NG Kwinana power station down there, and he comes around. He works shift work, and he comes around a couple of times a week helping me build all this stuff. And there's no way I could have got all this together without Bill's help. So I'd just like to put a big thank you out there to Bill. He's a Model 3 guy and enthusiast. And,
thanks for that, John.
Yeah, cheers, Bill, because it's been a big, well, you know yourself, it's been a big effort getting all this together, and we've got it together, and hopefully it's all going to work for the next 4 days.
Yeah, well done to you too.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks, Bill.
Cool.
Tell us about the shark fin trip, Harold.
Which one? The one to Cullen or the one to Ravensthorpe?
Tell us. I haven't heard much about both of them.
Yeah, well, last week we discussed the Cullen trip. Yeah, that was pretty cool. I must admit I had pretty sweaty hands sort of driving along. It's like anything, you know, anything you do that seems risky, you sort of just slowly get used to it, and then it's all just normal. Yeah. So the classic of the Cullen one was when Pete wanted to get some video to see what it looked like to drive behind the shark fin. And so I don't know, you must have been an autopilot, Pete, so you must have gone, what, distance 1? You were pretty close.
I did. I got down to distance 1. I wasn't, just because this is being recorded, but whether it's recorded or not, the phone was in its...
oh, yeah, no, the phone was in its holster.
Yeah,
and
yeah, in its holster, yeah.
And you were using the vehicle controls to control the phone, of course. It goes without saying.
No, I didn't touch the phone. I just had it on record the whole time. Recorded about 2 hours worth. But,
exactly.
Yeah, but
cool.
No, I tried to get as close to you as I could, just for a few seconds. But yeah, I had it on number 1. But I was number 7 most of the time. But then, yeah, got the confidence up and got to number 1. I was hovering my foot just above the brake the whole time when I was on number 1, by the way.
It was funny because when I saw Pete do that, John, I thought, whoa, Pete's a thrill seeker because he's really living life on the edge. Because of course, if that charger fell off my car, I'd feel nothing. If anything, the car would get slightly lighter. And I don't know.
Speed up, yeah.
Yeah. And I probably wouldn't even hear it tumbling across the road or along the road.
You'd see it in the rear vision mirror, though, you know, rolling down the road.
Yes, and smack into Pete's car, and then whoever was behind Pete would smack into his car, and it would just be a concertina of Teslas. Yes, and there'd be a lot of explaining to do. But yeah, that went really well. We went to that RV service area where the toilet block is, and plugged into 32 amps 3-phase.
Beautiful. And
we were charging at 22 kilowatts. And the funny thing was, within 5 minutes of us setting up, a FEV rocked up. So we go to the guy, oh, would you want to plug in? And he goes, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. So that was kind of ironic. So yeah, that trip went really well. And then last weekend, drove the shark fin. We've got to think of a better name, but anyway, It's had various names like the Beast and other names. Drove it to Ravensthorpe via Lake Grace.
Right.
So I tweeted out, no, it's on PlugShare, sorry. I think it's on PlugShare, which I'll try and bring up. I had it sitting next to the Lake Grace charger on the back of my car. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then basically proceeded to Ravensthorpe after about an hour. Oh, actually, I was pretty empty. I think I got there on 2%, something like that. It was pretty low.
Mm.
Had to charge a little bit at what's it call it? Oh, Rookton.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that went pretty well. Oh, here we go. Here's the photo. I'll just flick that up in a sec. So we got the two chargers.
That's pretty awesome, isn't it?
Yeah. So, I mean, the good thing about the rig is it's got the auxiliary number plate, so it's all perfectly legal on the road. But yeah, so basically, it's charging up on the Eva charger while having this one on the back. And yeah, I must admit, on the way, we got quite a few looks, and on the way back, we had a few of the locals rock up and want to chat, and some people were asking, "Oh, have you got a spare battery on the back?" And I said, "No, it's just a charger." And yeah, so that was pretty cool. And then basically went to Ravensthorpe, dropped it off at the rec centre, and then Galaxy Lithium had an expo on Saturday. So Friday night we then drove on to Esperance and stayed at the one of the hotels. I can't remember what it's called now. Let's bring it up on PlugShare, which is actually timely because I did have a negative experience. It was the Comfort Inn Bay of Isles, which that time was a couple of years ago, but it's basically near the laundry, so that was pretty cool. But one of the places, I think it was this one here. This is near the museum, if it will come up.
Yeah, I know that one. I've been on that one, sports.
Yeah, you have. There you are. There, I think. Yeah.
Right.
So that one, there was no power and the office was shut during the weekend.
Right.
So unfortunately, that's some government office of some sort. I wasn't quite sure. The entry is around the side or around the back from where this photo is. And unfortunately, both outlets were dead. So something had obviously tripped them off.
Yeah.
And there was no way of resetting it. So I couldn't charge. Oops, sorry.
That sports house one could probably come off PlugShare now.
Well, not really, Rob, because
now there's a Type 2 up at the Horizon office.
Yeah, there is, which I did use briefly. Just checked it out. That's it there, and this banner is quite interesting. You know, will there be more charging stations like this one? And my answer to Horizon Power in Esperance is I hope not, because what we really want to see in Esperance, which is the end of the Perth to Esperance electric highway, is one of these. Because one thing I realized is on Saturday morning, we thought we'd do a bit of we were pretty fully charged, about 95%, and we thought we'd do a bit of a drive around Esperance and go on the ocean, I think they call it the Ocean Drive, something like that, or Great Ocean Drive. Yeah, Great Ocean Drive. But the thing was, it's 188 kilometres to Ravensthorpe, and I was sort of, 90% charged. So we went to Esperance Stonehenge, which Richard, you're still here. Richard had no idea that even existed. That was a thing, but it's actually a authentic, full-scale replica of Stonehenge as it would have been 4,000 years ago, and it's actually cut out of local granite. So I forget how many dozens of tons some of those blocks weigh, but it's a really cool thing. Anyway, we're driving around, going and looking at Pink Lake, which is no longer pink, and looking at the lake next door to it, which is pink, and blah, blah. But we had to sort of keep an eye on how much energy we were using, because we had to then get back to Ravensthorpe. And in fact, in the end, we went to Hopeton, which is just a similar distance. But we arrived at Hopeton with about, I think 12 kilometres left. So the point was, even though you presume Esperance is a destination, so you kind of just stay there overnight and you can just fill up. Well, if you want to do a side trip, you're a little bit hamstrung, because if you then want to go back to, say, Ravensthorpe, which is the first place going west, you've got to really then go, well, maybe we'll just have to leave on a full tank and not do a side trip. So really, Horizon need to pull their fingers out and put a fast DC charger, because that's what you need if you want to do side trips. Or if you want to do a side trip somewhere else and then quickly come back to Esperance, top up, and then go to Ravensthorpe, or go up to Norseman. So yeah, let's hope that Horizon do the right thing and replace that 22 kilowatt. In fact, that Schneider unit, presuming there's 22 kilowatts either side, has got 44 kilowatts supply going to it. Well, you just add another 5 kilowatts of supply, which is not a lot, and you can put a tritium 50 kilowatt unit right there. So that's my little rant. Speaking of which, the Ravensthorpe charger is still coming. There are some power issues and installation issues, but hopefully that will get done in the next little while. But yeah, so that was the story of the shark fin. So currently it's now done approximately 1,600 kilometers on the back of my car. And yeah, apart from all the bugs that I had to clean off it a few days ago, it's going well. The next outing for it hopefully might be Geraldton. We are still planning a Kalbarri trip. Of course, we're coming up towards school holidays and the busy period and all that sort of stuff. At the moment, we're sort of looking at the 4th to the 6th of December, but that depends on whether Eva are doing an Esperance run on the same weekend. And that's kind of 50-50 at this stage. So at the moment, there is a fair bit of accommodation in Kalbarri that I've looked at. But yeah, we just want to suss out what Ava are doing with this potential Esperance trip, because we don't want to really collide with that. We'd rather have our members go to it as well, rather than having to choose. But we'll see how that goes. Yeah, so, and apart from that, this thing will be traveling wherever it can go to make a difference, to influence a council to, buy one or install one. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Speaking of charging, how are your veggie pods going, John?
Okay. We've had some successful charges. Yeah, so we've had to add some stabilization to the generator to get it to work with the V-fill. And we've had a couple of successful charges. I've just been I'm nearly ready to deliver them to site. I just got to been a bit, sidetracked with getting ready for Targa West. So once this is out the way, within a couple of weeks, I'm hoping to get one down to Arthur River to replace the diesel unit down there. I've installed the fuel drum system down there already, and the girl that runs the roadhouse there, she's starting to fill it up with waste oil. So hopefully once we get down there with the unit, we'll be able to hook it on and have it up and running. The guy in Jurien Bay wants me to go up and convert his standby generator, and he wants to keep the C-Tech there. He's happy with that arrangement, so I'll probably do that rather than send the whole skid up there. And the guy that's got the roadhouse in Kew, David, don't know his other name, he's quite interested in getting one of these veg pod skids as well. So yeah, things are moving along. Been a bit slow, but things will speed up here shortly.
Yeah, cool. This is what I tried to plug into. It's a 65 kilowatt Jenny.
Yeah.
And I got I convinced the tritium to start up, and it was all right.
Yeah.
And it's about 1 kilometre up the hill to go to the hotel. And my car had charged for about 20 minutes, and then it went off. So then I had to walk down the hill and basically just charge it on my juice booster, because it must have had a power upset or something like that.
Where was that?
That was in Ravensthorpe.
Okay.
Because what had happened was the charger was originally plugged in. Sorry, the tritium was originally plugged into a 32 amp 3-phase outlet at the rec centre, which is just sort of to the left.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it was there were a couple of different charging sessions or whatever done by others, and it for some reason it popped the breaker at the rec centre, and there was no access to the power board, so we couldn't reset it. So anyway, but yeah, it was cool. So I had sort of demonstrated that you can run it on a Jenny, but not reliably, as you know, John. So and mind you, that was only at 22 kilowatts, because that's what it was set to.
Was it only set to 22 and it still tripped out?
Well, it all I know is it stopped charging, about half an hour later.
Right.
But I don't know why. All I know is my car stopped charging. When I got there, everything was actually back to normal, and the display was normal.
Yeah.
Except my car had a red light on it, on the charge port.
Oh.
So I don't actually know what happened. And the Jenny was still running and everything was cool, but I didn't want to tempt fate and try it again, because like I said, it's a 1 kilometre walk up and down a hill. So yeah, anyway. But that's some little project that obviously we're working on to be able to change charge rates a bit simpler than a phone call and other things.
Yeah, we're at the end of all this, we might be able to come up with a magic box.
Yes.
Magic box that you plug the generator into, and then you have a lead out of that you plug the V-fill into, and everything works with all the magic inside the box.
Yeah, even if it's just a matter of a few presets, 50 kilowatts, whatever. Yeah, who knows? We'll see how that goes. But anyone else got any? We got a few extra people.
Yeah.
Joseph. Oh, Joe, welcome, Joe.
Yeah, just one thing. Joe, I see, was at Treendale charging at 133 kilowatts today.
Oh.
So it still is coming. The spanner is still on plug share, but Joseph was there today charging. So Joseph, report, please.
Just give Joseph a second to calibrate himself.
Okay. All right, a minute. I gotta turn on my mic, turn on my thing. Where's my thing? Where's my picture?
133 kilowatts went to Eaton first to get preconditioned.
Yeah. So I went to Eton first, and to precondition. I mean, to get. I don't know whether that made any difference, but I mean, well, it did make a difference because previously I was there at 76 kilowatts. So yeah, makes a difference.
So 133. That's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah. The only thing is that in my opinion, Treendale is a bit like Yangchep. It's just got one woolies and that's it. And it's a bit. So I'm for the future, I'm just going to be charging at Eton. I'm not going to be bothering to go to Treendale because there's more choice at there's Coles and there's Coles basically at Coles and Woolworths at Eton.
Is your car an SR Plus or a long range?
Yep, SR Plus.
Ah, okay. So what was your state of charge at 133 kilowatts?
23%.
Oh, okay. So it was nice and low. Right. Cool.
Yeah.
What we really need is go on.
And one thing was that the my car didn't go into preconditioning until I was at the intersection of Forest Highway and Eton Drive. So the trick is that, I mean, well, the car, because previously when I was getting the 76, I did not even, I mean, the car didn't do any preconditioning at all, even though I was like about 5 Ks away from the, the supercharger. So yeah.
So presumably, your car should have still been a little bit warm from the drive down to Bunbury, roughly, or
yeah. This today I traveled from home northern suburbs down straight down, and so that's why my thing was low. But previously I normally would charge at Coburn DC,
yes.
and then I go down.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so what we need is, I guess 133 kilowatts is the current record. So we need someone in a long range or a performance 3.
Yeah.
Obviously unless someone's got a brand new X or S, literally brand new, who might be able to try it as well, because the new S's and X's, I think they've got a maximum of about 200 kilowatts, roughly, I think. But yeah, the SR Plus, obviously you've got to get a lower rate of charge than the performance or long range, because you just don't have enough cells to charge at once. But yeah, that's cool.
Right.
So, and it's fully functional, so you just use your ChargeFox card or an app.
No, the app is not an app. Is still only you need your RFID card only at the moment.
Oh, so okay. So as long as you got a valid ChargeFox RFID card.
Yep.
Okay. Cool. All right, I might try that in my car, because I actually ordered one of those RFID cards.
Yep.
Because it's just a pain on those Schneiders to have to work out which side's A and which side's B, because they're not always marked at all the places. And it's just quicker to use your card than it is to use the app.
All right. Yeah.
So cool. Awesome.
Oh, one thing though is that anyone can still come along and press the stop button at the moment. I mean, if you and the funny thing is, with the normal V-fills, if you use the card, the stop icon is disabled until you present your card again. If you use the app, the stop button is still active. But at the moment, with Treendale, I mean, I'm presume that you can set something in the settings. But at the moment, with Treendale, once you tap on your card, there's still an X on the screen, and anyone can come along and stop and press the stop. I mean, can stop your charge.
Yeah. What's the configuration of the e-stop? Is that behind a cover, or is that still like the 50 kilowatts where anyone can go and press that as well?
Oh, I didn't really take a note of the e-stop. It's not very. haven't really noticed about the e-stop. Yeah. Cool.
Because I'm just looking, and it's normally on the 50 kilowatts. It's normally where the RAC symbol is. So maybe
that's the reader bit, seemingly.
No, the reader bit's here.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, that's the reader part there.
Okay, right.
normally the e-stop on a 50 kilowatts about here.
Yep.
And remember how they used to have it behind a little plastic cover?
Yep.
So you had to go through a bit of effort to push it. Now they just stopped doing that.
Yep.
Yeah, cool.
One interesting thing to note is that CHAdeMO has a lower amperage to CCS. They've got CHAdeMO there as well with the liquid. I think it's the liquid cooled, aren't they? The cables are liquid cooled.
I think so. Oh yes, yes. No, well, certainly the CCS is. Is the CHAdeMO? Is it 65 kilowatts or something like that?
I think if you look at the picture, I took a picture of the adapters. I mean that's
200
DC.
amps.
Yeah.
200. Yeah, I wonder if that's what it's putting out though. So 200 amps. Yeah, that's about 80 kilowatts. Yes. Yep.
Right.
So it's 75.
But have a look at the CCS one. I think it's 500 amps or something.
I think it's 500. Yeah, I think that's there isn't. Oh, here we go. 500. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's why these chargers are still not as fast at charging a Tesla as a V3, which we haven't got yet, but a V3 can deliver the whole 250 kilowatts into a Model 3, but these 350 kilowatt chargers can only deliver a maximum of about 200 kilowatts on a pretty full battery because of the current limit.
Yeah, interestingly, I got 129 kilowatts at the supercharger.
Oh yes, yeah, no, that's quite standard.
Yeah.
Even in my Model X, I got 133, I think it was, for a brief period, and then it tapered off.
One thing to point out, I'm not too sure you guys, or maybe Rob might have already mentioned, but it's 51 cents a kilowatt hour at the supercharger now at Eaton, but then it's 40 cents a kilowatt hour at the moment at the new RAC ones there.
So is it 51, Joseph, or 52?
Yes, 51. Well, 51. according to if you look on well, I mean, because we have to pay. I mean, the Model 3 owners have to pay for all their charging.
Yes,
but it shows up at 51 cents in the the when you tap on Eaton.
Yeah, cool.
And of course $1.30 per minute idle fees.
If the supercharger site is more than 50% full. So if you're the only person there, you won't get charged an idle fee. But if there's more than 50% occupancy and you stay more than, is it 10 minutes over, I think, something like that, you then get charged. Yeah. So
Joseph, did you go to the Tesla charger primarily to precondition your battery, right?
Yes, I headed to there, and then when it was about 1 kilometer away, the message shows up on screen, preconditioning your battery.
So is it a problem going straight to Treendale without?
I probably have to do another trip now to work that out as well.
No, I'm just throwing it out there. If you just like me, just show up, no preconditioning and plug in and zap it.
Well, there's two variables at the moment, because the other day I rocked up like a 44% charge. So that was like, I only got 76 kilowatts. So, but today I rocked up, but of course I passed by Eaton first to precondition the battery, because I'm trying to follow what's his name, Matt's idea of fooling the car, or even Nigel's idea of fooling the car into preconditioning first. You enter the supercharging destination, and then the car will start to warm up the battery first, and then head to Treendale.
All right.
Yeah, and really, I think it was mentioned last week that what Tesla should have an option of doing is just having a menu item that just says precondition now.
Yeah.
And don't let Tesla worry about why. It's just
What is
because.
what is preconditioning? Is it heating it up or
Yes,
cooling it down?
it deliberately heats the battery, or it doesn't necessarily actively heat the battery, but it will shut down its own normal cooling system that would normally keep the battery quite cool, and then let its temperature rise up. And I think the ideal temperature. Go on, Joseph.
Yeah. According to Björn Nyland, he reckons that the stators of the motors are used to heat up the liquid, supposedly.
Yeah. In Model 3,
he calls them the afterburners.
That's right. In the old S's and X's, there's actually a separate heater that will resistively heat the batteries as a separate module, or heat the liquid, so the coolant going through the system. Whereas the Model 3s, what they can do is they can send non-motive voltages and currents through the motors. So even when it's parked, it basically locks the rotor and wait, and then the windings become resistive. Well, they are resistive anyway, and it basically then heats up the drive units. And of course, there's coolant going through them, and that ends up heating the entire battery coolant system. So they don't have a separate heater per se. They just utilize, you could call it non-motive energy through the motors.
Does it apply at the lower charging rates? Like one of the things that's mystifying me with some of the testing I'm doing, I'm getting different people, different cars coming, and there's a big variability in how much Teslas will take, right? The Kona takes it, right? It just takes 46, 47, 48 kilowatts, no worries, every time. Doesn't matter if it's cold, hot, or what. But like, for example, the other day we were doing a test with Bill on his Model 3, and I don't know if it's my system or what, but we could only get it like 35 kilowatts going into the car. And then we did it a couple of times, and then we took it for a hack around the block, put it in, same thing. Well, why can't we get like 45? And then we took it up to Coburn and put it on there, and we got 45. So
I think the big thing is battery temperature. And the thing is, the batteries don't warm up as quickly as you think. So for instance, I've left home near Curtin and gone to Curtin Uni and gone to UWA, and I've had quite crappy charging, even at low battery levels, because my battery was still about 18 or 19 degrees when I arrived. Because when I'd left home, it was about 15 degrees, and it had only risen about 3 or 4 degrees. So I think if you charge around Perth, like Greater Perth, even though you think that's a bit of a trip, and in an ice car, of course, your engine's warm, by the time you've done a few Ks, your battery pack hasn't had time to absorb that energy or to heat up. And I think Tesla, the cars don't actively, deliberately heat themselves while they're driving, per se. Like, they don't bother doing that because they're very energy conscious. So yeah, I think it might be basically just your pack temperature.
And John, if you stick an ODB dongle in to the Model 3, and then you can monitor it on your phone, you can get battery temperature, state of charge, and so on. If you look at what Bjorn does anyway, you can get one of those and plug it in, and then you get more information. You might then be able to correlate temperature of battery to charging rate and work it out a bit more.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that, Bill? That's what we need to do.
Well, for instance, I've got a menu item that I put on sort of opportunistically that isn't normally on the cars, so I can see the battery temperature on the binnacle. And I've worked out, I think it's about 19 degrees or 18 and a half degrees. If your battery is cooler than that, you actually have restricted regen.
Oh, right.
And I mean, regen is, my regen maxes out at 50 kilowatts roughly. So that absolutely explains that, you know, if the battery pack is a bit cool, the car just won't charge it at a great rate. But like Joseph says, if you navigate to the supercharger, but I think the problem is it's only if you navigate to a supercharger. You can't navigate to any other known fast DC location because the car just doesn't register that as being a fast DC place yet. It'll either literally actively charge heat the battery by wasting energy doing so, or it'll just shut its louvers down and restrict, well, basically divert the cooling fluid away from the radiators at the front, and then try and by that way increase the gain of temperature as you're driving along. But there's still a limit to that. So you know, in summer you'll find that those experiments will be a bit easier. But you know, of course, if you've got an S, a performance S, you can put it in ludicrous mode, and that actually raises the battery temperature to 50 degrees.
Right.
So, and it actually shows you what temperature is. I don't know if Rob's car's got that, but there's like a purple temperature gauge that sort of goes up to 50 degrees for launches and stuff like that. So that's really what Tesla needs to do, is have a button, the equivalent of a demister button, that just says precondition my car now.
Yeah, for charging.
You know, for charging, yeah, or for fast charging. So given that Elon watches this channel whenever he can't sleep, hopefully he'll hopefully he'll listen and do it.
Because I wonder if that preconditioning would help with performance as well. Like we get the Model 3 out on the track, we just put the boot straight into it. I mean, the battery could be cold.
There's a two-edged sword. It might help you for the battery to be fairly cool, because one of the enemies, well, certainly of the S's and X's, was overheating, although the Model 3s, I believe, don't have that problem. But your problem is probably not so much the initial battery temperature, it's the ongoing battery temperature. Yeah. So you're probably better off keeping it fairly cool at the start, because then you've got more overhead as it starts warming up pretty quickly. Because you notice, John, that when you put into track mode, the cooling fans go to maximum speed just straight away, even while you're idling, because they're trying their best. They know what's going to happen next, so they're trying their best to keep the car cool.
Even when we work the car really hard, it comes in with the cooling fans running, but actually doesn't take long for them to turn off. So, you know, we haven't had long extended periods of cooling fan running.
Yep.
So must be pretty good cooling system.
Yeah, it's about 5-10 minutes, isn't it? Before they turn off, if you're not driving. So does that sound right, John?
Could be. I mean, we're down at Motorplex. I mean, we've flog it flat out, and it's braking hard and all that. Not that affects the battery temperature or anything, but when it comes in, like he does a couple of laps of the car park to cool the brakes mainly, but he pulls up and the fans run. Yeah, probably 5 minutes, five minutes, maybe. Yeah, 5 to 10 minutes.
I've also noticed that my fans keep running, and they can go for 10 minutes, possibly longer, when I've come home and I parked in the garage.
All right. Well, you've been thrashing it or just driving normally?
No, I don't thrash it. I'm a good boy.
Well, I was just thinking, John, you asked the wrong question. You said, has he been thrashing it or driving normally? Well, those two things might not be mutually exclusive.
That's why you buy one of these cars, isn't it? I mean, you don't buy it to tootle around then, do you?
Well, I do tootle.
Oh, yeah, go down and do this.
I drive in chill all the time.
Who?
I drive in chill all the time, and I've done now 49,000 kilometers since January.
In chill mode?
Yep.
but you're Joseph, right? So-
Yeah.
Don't-
No, that's why I've got 49,000 kilometers on my first set of tires. I haven't worn them out by being in standard mode.
Don't you switch chill mode on by putting that right pedal all the way to the ground?
What my Model 3's done 8,000 kilometers, have been through 3 sets of tires and 5 sets of brake pads. Right?
I would love to see your lifetime economy. Like it'd be 1,000 watt hours per kilometer, or God knows what.
When you turn that power consumption graph on, after he's been at Motorplex, it's all red. There's no, the peaks go past the top of the graph.
Just a quick question talking about brakes. How do you know when you need to replace a brake? Is there a signal that tells you that you need to replace the brake?
Well, you and I can promise you that if you drive the car normally, you will never ever change brake pads, ever.
But just on a serious note, there is the brake pads are about 9 or 10 millimeters worth of material, and about when it gets down to about 1 or 2 millimeters, there's a tiny little metal tab that sticks out. So you will hear a squealing sound before your brake pads go to metal, and that's that little tab that's there designed to make a squealing noise. And that, if you ever hear that, then it's time to go and get your brake pads changed.
But you might also hear the squealing if you don't use your brakes for some time and you get a coating on the rotors
of rust.
Especially when you go backwards, when you're reversing, that's when they will squeal like crazy. So
yeah, I get that. I got that. I mean, a while back.
Yeah, and I actually whinged about it, and then James just said, "No, it's actually normal. It's because you're not using your brakes enough, and the way to solve it is to do a couple of hard brake applications, or you just don't worry about it. But it's only when you go in reverse. I don't know about you guys. Yeah, it's just reversing gently on the brakes.
You wake the neighbors up.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's right, because I've actually got a bit of a sloping driveway. It's a gentle slope. So I sort of like gently go down the driveway, and all he hears is whee all the way. It's terrible. but you're like I said, well, when my car had done 100,000 kilometers, I got James to suss out my brake pads just out of interest, and he measured it, and I think it's got a total of 5 millimeters, and I would used 0.2 or something like that. It was ridiculous. It had worked out that those front pads would last over 1 million kilometers in my car before
my Holden Volt's done about 120,000 K from what I remember, and mind you, that doesn't have single pedal driving, but it's still got, and it interestingly doesn't have regen in reverse, whereas the Model 3 does, the Teslas do, which I noticed. Not that would make much of a difference, but yeah, the Volt, brakes are still at, virtually new after 120,000 K. So.
Yep. But there you go, Ewan. That's the thing with the brakes. As John said, if you're driving forwards and you had worn them, I think most pads these days have that little metal clip thing that basically is a pre-warning that you're going to get, you're about to go metal to metal.
When was that, John? Did you say the last 2 mil?
Roughly, like the pads, the front pads that we wore out straight away actually didn't wear that evenly, so they the leading edge or the trailing edge, probably the leading edge, dug in more and wore out pretty quick. And we actually got down to the backing plate metal, just touched it. We just pulled them out and inspected just on time. But that's where that little tab hadn't actually started squealing because it was on the other end of the pad. We're going to be changing brake pads on 2 Model 3s after this Targa West. So if anyone's interested, get in touch because Darren and Nigel are going to bring their cars around here. We're going to put up the hoist and change their pads to high temperature pads. So,
That's not me, not this Nigel.
yeah, not Nigel and Linda Nigel. It's Nigel Ball, who's got a grey Model 3, and Darren Out, who's got a grey Model 3. They want to do a bit more racing, so they want to put the high temperature pads in. So anyone interested, come around on that day and see how it's all done.
Awesome. Cool. Speaking of adventurous things, I had a call from a new owner that had her car for only a few days, and she decided to take it for a road trip down to Albany. And unfortunately, she navigated to Albany from Perth, and of course it told her to go via Eton, which is kind of the long way. So she went to Eton, plugged in. That was all pretty cool. It all went pretty well. And then it sort of told her to go towards Kojonup, and it took her on a dirt road, which was a bit unfortunate for a brand new car. And she turned up at Kojonup with 10%, and then thankfully found the home hardware destination charger, because she had no adapters or anything, so no type 2 cables or anything at all. And then that's from where she rang me to ask for a bit of help with getting to Albany. And I sort of basically had to say to her, you've just got to wait in the car until you've got about 200 Ks in the tank, which, you know, was going to take another hour or so. I've got to say that when she finally arrived in Albany, she sent me a text and a photo. And this is the photo. And you can see that she arrived with 4 kilometers.
Oh, I've beaten that.
No, but Richard, this is after 3 or 4 days of ownership.
Yeah,
on her
that
first
cool.
road trip. And of course, you got this warning, which is, you know, you've got to basically charge, otherwise bad things are going to happen.
There is also the charger at the Sandalwood factory, which is what, 50 Ks in from Albany. I mean, it's still the same.
Yes, that's right. But well, without any sort of instruction or any pre-knowledge, she basically went all the way and got there with 4 Ks.
Yeah. At least I knew what I was kind of doing.
So I'm calling that as like a record for a new owner. You know.
Yeah, you see, Richard, Sandalwood factory, 7 kilometres from Albany.
Oh, is it 7? Sorry, I don't know.
But you see the problem here. This is in America. There's superchargers everywhere. So Tesla can say to their owners, guys, just use the nav system. The nav system will take you to a supercharger, because they're everywhere. But in Western Australia, we've just got one. So trusting the nav system is dangerous.
Yeah, indeed, because as you can see on PlugShare, it's a little bit, oops, sorry, I'll make this a little bit less cluttered.
Did she even have PlugShare? Was she looking at PlugShare?
No, she only put PlugShare on when she got to...
I mean, this is Tesla. When they sell a car, they should tell people to download the app and study it before they go anywhere, right? I mean, I don't get it.
So what the car said, and we know the cars do this. She was in Perth, and it told her to go to Bunbury, and then it told her to go to Kojonup,
Arthur River,
and then go down. Well, yeah, she actually went on Arthur River Road, but she didn't know that parts of she had recalled Arthur River. No, that's a Collie thing. She said she went through Collie or something, but she didn't know there were charges there, because the car doesn't show it. Because all the car will show is destination charges and superchargers. So it knew there was a destination charger at Kojonup, right? So they're like, but Rob's dead on the money. The problem is in anywhere except for Western Australia, mostly,
Yeah.
you can literally just buy a brand new car and drive it with gay abandon, because the car will tell you where the nearest supercharger is. And, you know, there's nothing but superchargers everywhere else. You know, if this same trip was done on the eastern seaboard, these are just superchargers. Sorry. Coming up, these are the superchargers.
Yeah.
And of course, if you went to, and we all know this, you go to it,
Yeah.
you know,
Put Australia back on again. Show us Australia. Oh, come on. We've got to lift our game. That's ridiculous, isn't it?
it is. And then we'll go across this way.
Well, New Zealand. Have a look at New Zealand.
Yeah, New Zealand's not bad. Look at that.
Yeah.
And then if you look at the US, I mean, even Mexico's got them. But
what happens if you just put 50 kilowatt, like Tesla or Chatamo or CCS?
yeah, if we do CCS, that's not all of them.
No, just
so it's the problem with this is, as you zoom in, you just get more and more
pop up.
Yeah, no, but don't worry about the US, because we know that's good. But look at Australia. Like, just if you want to drive around Australia, you really need to charge at 50 kilowatts. So so look, you can do from bloody Cairns or wherever it is up there to bloody Port Augusta or Clare.
Yeah.
And then
And don't be fooled. This one here is only a 20 kilowatt. This is a 25 kilowatt. Sorry, in Darwin they've got one. And then also, being a Model 3 owner, don't be fooled about these pins either.
Yeah, that's
this
true.
one, this one, that one, that one. None of those work. The Katanning one does. Arthur River does. Collie does. But Lake Grace does. But none of these other ones work on Model 3s or the newer.
Given that, look, there's a problem. We know we're trying to fix that. But if you scroll it down so we can see whole of Australia, right? I mean, this the whole of Australia, right? I mean, the thing about it is, this is, we're a federation, right? So all the wealth this state generates, right? A lot of it goes to look after the whole of Australia, including Tasmania and all the rest of it, right? So now it's actually time for the federation to actually spend a bit of money on us, even though we don't have as many cars and as many people and everything else. We need that infrastructure, right?
Well, look at Tasmania. It's got it's got more useful DC chargers for Teslas than all of Western Australia.
Yeah. John, the Prime Minister's got a bloody cubby house to build first. Hey, Harold, I've got two questions for you. The first one is, how did this lady know to ring you?
Harry gave her my number.
Did Harry give you your number before she went on the trip?
No.
Okay, so that's the problem.
Yeah. Well, we're going to work on that, and I'm going to have a chat because there's an owner. There's one of our new members is actually living in Port Hedland, which is pretty cool. So he's going to be picking up his car on Friday.
Tell me his address. I'll go around the corner and see it.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a performance Model 3 too.
Awesome.
I'll do that offline. And he's picking his car up on Friday, and he's going to proceed to drive it to Port Hedland on Friday.
And he hasn't got plug share. Yeah, good.
No, he has.
Good luck.
No, he's got he's got plug share, and we're lending him a couple of adapters and giving him some info. I've already spoken to him on the phone, so that was cool. Because apparently it was going to take something like 2 weeks, which was ridiculous, to get trucked up. I don't know why, but I mean, we all know that Port Hedland is 23 hours away from Perth on a truck, or maybe 25 hours with brakes. But anyway, so yeah, so Rob, that's what happened. But yeah, we're going to address that, because clearly these new owners, especially in Western Australia, need advice first before they get their cars or as they get them, because it's not as easy as, like I said, that the biggest mistake, which was totally natural to do, was simply navigate to Albany. And the car told this person, go to Eton first, then go across to Kojonup, and then go to Albany. Well,
And one of the two main reasons we started this club was because of that. That people wouldn't go out and make a big mistake like that.
Well, precisely. And even if that experience was on the Eastern Seaboard, you wouldn't have that, because the Eastern Seaboard, at least where most people drive, is very well catered for. And like I said, this map here is deceptive, because really,
Yeah, but it tells us, to me, it tells the big picture story, that map. That's disgraceful.
yeah. Yeah, and Rob and I know how much hard work it is to drive through all of these green pins, which look awesome on a plug share map. It looks really great. It kind of looks like the job's done, but it really isn't.
Yeah.
It's
a 50 kilowatt map is the one.
Yeah, well, but having said that, 50 kilowatts is going to cost about $20 million to go to Kununurra, and 150 watts will cost about 30 million. So for 50% more money, you get 3 times the rate of charging. So let's hope.
Bring up the 10 amp power points. We don't need any charging stations if you bring that one up.
Well, there's one at every petrol station at least.
Yeah, and there's, I know there are some say that it's really relaxing charging all day on 10 amps.
At the beach, yeah.
But it's just not.
15 amps is 50% faster.
Yeah, but let's not mention the fact that the new UMCs, the 15 amp tail on the new UMC2s only charge at 12 amps, and the 10 amp tail charges at 8 amps. For reasons best known to those that manufacture them.
By the way, there's an adapter that has gone missing. I lent it to somebody. If anyone's talking to anyone, it's a custom built 15 amp 3-pin plug with the earth pin file down, so it fits in a 10 amp socket. It's not being recorded, is it?
Yep.
No,
it's fine. It's fine, John, because the point of
to a 5-pin female on L1, right? Because all of my single phase chargers are all got the 5-pin male plug on them, right? So I built this thing in case I was at a motel or caravan park or all those single phase kind of places. I can still use my single phase charger.
Yeah, and what you do, and it's totally legit, we don't need to snip this out. By filing down the earth pin, you're allowing it to go into the 10 amp socket, and then you dial down the car to 10 amps.
Yeah, that's what I do. So
you're drawing, exactly, so you're drawing the 10 amps that you were entitled to draw the whole time. Yeah. But unfortunately, Tesla they presumed that Australia had the same regulations as the States, and that is that you have to derate plugs that have a long-term load by 20%. So in the States, a NEMA 1450 can only draw, 40 amps or whatever it is. Actually, they only draw 32 amps, but you have to derate it. So yeah, no, it's totally cool. So you've got one of those tails for your 3, John.
No. That's actually for my Kona trips. I'm getting.
Oh,
If I ever get a trip again, right? So I've got a shaky. Right, which can do 10, 12, 16, 20, 24, or 32 amps single phase.
Yep.
Right, so it's a type 2 plug, and the other end I've got a 5-pin, standard 32 amp thing, right? So I can plug it into the 3-phase outlets and get 32 amp single phase.
Yep.
Or I've got a crossover goes to 20 amps. I get into that. Or if I'm at a caravan park, I need the female 5-pin by 3-pin.
Yep.
Go into a caravan park, and also so it's for Kona driving. I mean, I've got all the Tesla stuff for the Model 3. It's not a problem, but anyway, but it's gone missing. I don't know. I've lent it to someone. I can't remember who I lent it to.
Would it not be a Kona owner, perhaps? I mean, would a Tesla owner?
It's actually not. I probably lost it in my own workshop because it's sort of thing, because it's so dodgy, I wouldn't lend it to anybody, right? But anyway, if you see it show up in your boot or something, then it's mine. Yeah,
cool. No worries. Will do.
But it's pretty handy bit of kit, even though it's not. You got to manage it. You can't just go plugging into anything.
No, and that's the whole point of having EVSEs. Every single charging point should be a Type 2 or CCS2 outlet. So then it's easy. You don't have to think. You just plug it in. I remember at I think it's Pardue Roadhouse. It's a 20 amp socket, but I'd forgotten to put my car down, and it was drawing 24 amps, 3-phase. And about half an hour later, it popped the circuit breaker.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, is because you're sort of using these adapters. Whereas if there was a Schneider or an EO or some EVSE, you just plug in your Type 2 cable, and it would give you whatever it was allowed to give you automatically.
There's one like that in South Australia somewhere near after Ceduna on the way back. What's that called, Rob?
Penong.
Penong Caravan Park.
Yeah, it trips off at 28 amps.
Yeah, it's like, I think it's got a 30 amp breaker or something like that. They need to upgrade it to 40. You can't pull the full whack out of it.
Oh, gee, I did. That's that one there on that.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Oh, there's what's his name?
Yeah. Don't forget we're recorded, John. Just saying.
Scroll down. You should see a few pictures of me there somewhere, unless they've deleted me. Yeah, they're the red. There we are. The red.
Oh, there you are.
Yep.
There it is.
Yeah, I kept tripping it. That's with the Delta.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So it trips off at 28 amps 3-phase. So really, only Matt and myself were the ones that were tripping it off.
Oh, right. Because I'm only drawing 24 amps, so it would have been fine.
Yeah. So Matt noted it down. It was tripping off, and I gave it another test, and it tripped off. So I actually marked it on PlugShare.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
How hot was it when you were charging?
How what?
How hot was it? Was it a hot day?
No, it was late afternoon. It was like 15 degrees.
Oh, okay. Because you'll anytime you're operating your circuit breakers above 40 degrees, they'll trip off early.
Oh yes, that's right too. Because their overload, their long-term overload is thermal, isn't it? And their short circuit overload is magnetic. That's how it works? Yeah.
But you need to hit typically, 7 to 10 times their rated current for the magnetic trip. So yeah.
Yep.
It's thermal and it's rated at 40 degrees. So if you're somewhere where it's over 40 degrees, they'll trip early.
It's funny. Go on, John.
If you put duct tape over the little thing, it doesn't stop it tripping. It's still.
I have seen a screw and a spring, so that after it trips, the spring pulls it back up.
Oh,
Actually, that's not a bad idea, because one of the big challenges is if you do have an outlet on a wall and it trips for whatever reason, you've got no way of resetting it.
yeah, that's bullshit, isn't it?
And you've got to wait, if it's the weekend or it's the evening, you've got to wait until, you know, Monday or whatever, Monday morning to get it reset.
Yeah, if you can't access the board.
A few of the places I've gone to, I've sort of looked at the plug and thought, I'm not going to take the risk here. And I didn't need to charge fast. I had lots of time to charge because we're staying overnight. So instead of charging at 32 amp three phase, I charged at 16 because I could still get the full charge.
Yes.
You know, overnight, and that way you're guaranteed to get your charge in the car.
Yes, you don't want to go hard early and have to go home. Not being able to leave home. That's the problem.
Yeah, no charge.
Unless there's a grid outage a few hours after you start charging.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, well, let's not talk about grid outages, because I had one of those at, what's that place, Rob, in the Northern NT?
Oh, yeah, Dunmurra.
Dunmurra.
Why aren't you in your car, Richard? You're not doing. Normally, you do this call in your bloody car. What? You're in the house.
Unfortunately, my car is 1,000 kilometers away.
Really?
Yeah.
Where is it?
It's in Perth.
Oh, you're.
I'm in Headland at the moment.
You're in that four-lettered word place.
Yeah.
That's bad news.
Yeah, this is it.
I prefer the car background.
So do I.
You need to get a virtual Model S background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Richard, are you in Port Hedland or Roy Hill?
No, I'm in Headland. I'm here doing some stuff at the moment.
Because I say you'd never see a Tesla in Roy Hill.
Well, that's why I'm excited about hearing there's going to be one up in Headland, but unfortunately, I'm heading back to the mine tomorrow, so yeah, I'm not going to see it. But yeah,
it's due to be there on next Monday.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But no doubt there'll be other opportunities to meet up or whatever. So
very curious to know who it is, and yeah,
he was on Facebook a few weeks ago. He was asking about the car.
Okay, all right. Well, maybe I'll get his name offline, I guess.
Yeah.
Actually, what I can do is I'll just put a letter on the chat that the name starts with.
Okay.
We won't say.
Oh yeah, I know who that is.
But anyway, no one else in YouTube land can see that, so that's okay. But all jokes aside, it'd be awesome to see a Model 3. I mean, that's the first Model 3 in the Pilbara, I dare say. So, and let's hope it's the first of many.
Yeah, absolutely, hope so.
And hopefully he can organise for a DC charger to be put in at the airport, across from the pub, because they've got the power supply there.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and it's on the highway, and the pub's across the road. Better than parking the car between all those kegs.
Oh, like at the Port Hedland. Yeah.
You got a photo there? There's a photo on Blake.
Yeah, we do. I'll just bring that up in 2 seconds. There's a few kegs there. That's Richard Smith from the NT. There's a few less than.
Wicked.
And none. Well, I just took that photo straight in.
Where's this place? Which joint's this?
This is in Port Hedland.
Oh.
That's Richard McNeil, I think.
No, that's David's car, and that's where I parked it as well. So you had to reverse through a maze to get to where the band play.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was quite proud of myself when I found a better spot, until the owner said, "What the hell are you doing here?" I went, well, it's on PlugShare. And he goes, oh, okay. But yeah, near where the kegs is, yeah, it's well.
So you know the story of that place, don't you?
No, go on, Rob.
So I could get no help from the Port Hedland Shire with charging, even though they've got free phase around the back of the Shire office. So we went into the car park and the shops. This is like 4.5 years ago, and Robin goes into the shops to get some ice, and I'm sitting there going, we just got nowhere to charge in this town. It was really bloody depressing. So we were going to crawl onto Pardue, and this guy walks up to me. He's got a Northwest Muscle Car shirt on, and he walks up and he goes, mate, I didn't think I'd see one of those cars up here. And I said, yeah, I can't find anywhere to charge. And he goes, leave it with me. Rips out his phone, talks on the phone for about 30 seconds. He says, there'll be a Mustang here in 10 minutes. Follow him, you'll get your charging spot. And he took me to the pub there. So his mate was the manager of the pub at that time. So that's how we found that charging spot.
Yeah, the walkabout's not bad actually. They're really busy with FIFO, so they've got. I think if you see the satellite, that the walkabout's on the corner, but all of this accommodation is all part of the walkabout.
And there's free phase in that accommodation, but it's in some really bad spots to get a car.
Yeah. Whereas this spot here, and I was a bit of a pin freak where I'd incessantly make sure that the pin drop was accurate. So that's exactly where it is, on the corner.
Wicked.
It gets where the car we park the cars though. In the late morning, it gets extremely hot there.
Yes, well that's where I actually got. Well, I got there at breakfast because I left Wim Creek, which sadly now is closed.
Is it? Wim Creek closed?
Yeah, it closed a couple of years ago.
It's an awesome place.
That's it there. And yeah, Rob reported it late last year is still closed.
Weeby was there. Fucking hell.
Yeah, Weeby was there in July, and I was there in November.
You know what, Harold? This what we're talking about now just really reconfirms my feeling when I was at bloody Border Village. At the back of some busted power station, shit everywhere, diffs up against the wall, exhaust pipes, stepping across cow shit, fucking trying to plug into a 25 amp outlet, limited. We're like third class citizens, right?
No.
Yeah, there's the shed. There's the shed.
We're talking about, what is it, 28 million to put 50 kilowatt chargers around the state?
No, John, 28 million will get you 150 kilowatt chargers all around the state. It'll get you an awesome.
Right, well, add a little bit on for, make it 40 million. These pollies will spend that amount of money debating this, right?
John, we've seen car park refurbs costing $35 million. Like,
the federal government recently paid an extra $27 million for a block of land.
Triangle.
Yeah. They went to Liberal Party billionaire donors, and they had nine. They had
look at that.
Value.
You fucking look at you got it. You got it, Harold.
That's the Nullarbor. That's the Border Village.
Did I take a picture? Did I take a picture of the big cow patty I had to step over to get into there? Far out. And you know what? I could not charge at 20 kilowatts there, right? So I had that DC box in the back of the car.
Yep.
Right. So I got it, dialed it down to like 14 kilowatts, and then it started charging. So it was early in the morning. I went out, had some breakfast, had a coffee, came back, stopped charging. So I had to dial it down to about 10 kilowatts because the power station is a piece of shit. All the engines are broken. Radiators are all fizzing, steaming smoke and all that out of them. I mean, far out. Is this how we have to this is where I conceived the charge pod actually.
Hey, John. I can tell you something. Harold, can you stop the recording?
Oh, hang on. Wait
Oh,
up.
you're not really recording, are you?
Yes, I am. Shush, John.
Got to delete all that.
Hang on. I'll pause it. I'll pause it in 3, 2, 1, and well, in a sec. Hang on. Go.
Yeah, so if you are struggling with building a solar powered charging site, hybrid systems are fairly easy to build. We build them for the miners all the time because they're
of course.
effective. Yeah, you would have seen plenty of them, Richard. Yeah, you can have a site where the solar runs at the majority of the time during the week, a regular weekend. It's okay. You have batteries that charge up and then get discharged when somebody wants to charge faster. And then if you get there and the batteries are all depleted, you have a generator that kicks in, keeps the site running. Once the batteries are, once the cars are charged and they're off and the batteries are full, the generator turns off. I mean, it's not.
Yeah, Rod. It's not that a hybrid system is hard to build. It's they're scared to do it. I dislike diesel, but I understand it's part of the mix. Yeah, they are scared of.
Yeah. So that's an article on the Driven, hey?
Sorry.
Yeah, Driven. Yes. Driven.
I just found it. The headline is, "Why are there no off-grid electric vehicle charging stations?" Yeah.
Yes.
The one.
Well, hey guys, here's a concept I'll throw at you that I was thinking about and did crunch some numbers on a while ago, right? When ChargePod 2 years ago built ChargePod and got a ton of flack on social media, you electric car guys burning diesel, blah blah, right? So anyway, I'm quite interested in the Nullarbor because all my family live in Adelaide and I live here, so I want to drive the EV across and back, often. So, the problem is the numbers of cars, not enough cars. How many cars do the Nullarbor now, EVs? Probably 6 a year?
Oh, not even.
Not even? Well, it's getting less because all the pioneers are sick of doing it. So now nobody's doing it and there's no charging points, right? So if you put, here, I'll throw this out and you guys with brains can, crunch the numbers. So if you got my ChargePod, which is a 75 kVA generator with a 50 kilowatt V-fill on it, and you stuck one every 200 to 300 Ks across Nullarbor, you only need 6 of them, right? And if you put a 5 kilowatt solar shade over it, right? So you park your car under the solar 5 kilowatt solar array, carport, right?
Yep.
And what you do, this just throwing it out there for you guys to think about. So you send that 5 kilowatts of solar to the roadhouse, right? And they give it back to you in the equivalent value of diesel to put into your ChargePod, right? So your daytime, you send so many kilowatt hours, I don't know what it is, 4.5 times 365 or however you work it out.
Yep.
Convert that into diesel, did all the numbers, right? You would the break even is 200 cars, 200 Nullarbor trips a year, right? So the amount of solar, that 5 kilowatt array, which costs nothing, right?
That's a small array.
Would be putting there, giving you back credit as diesel to fill up your ChargePod. Until you had 200 cars a year going across there, the roadhouse would be making money because they would be getting more energy in solar than they would be giving you back as diesel, right?
Yeah, well, something else you could do is just using solar. So whether it's 5 kilowatts or 10 kilowatts or whatever, Tesla could sell one power pack, which is a 200 kilowatt hour.
132.
Sorry?
232.
Okay, now 232, and it can provide 50 kilowatts of AC into a tritium.
All right.
So, and then you can fill up that power pack with whatever you like, solar, wind, diesel, anything. But the problem is a power pack costs, I'm not sure what it costs. Is it 100K or something?
It's about 100 grand, yep.
Yeah.
The problem is the huge capital outlay for little return, right? So
well, and there's the classic point, because one of the big regrets, and I've said it several times on here, is there was one of the Nullarbor roadhouses that had a plaque that said this roadhouse was built with Commonwealth by the Commonwealth of Australia with Commonwealth funding in 1962 for the Perth Empire Games. So what they did was they realised that people in Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane had the only way to go to the Empire Games in 1962 was with your car, to drive, because there weren't many planes, and they literally paid for this roadhouse to be built as an essential infrastructure item. And that's what you've got to do with EVs. You've got to put in the charging locations before it is economically viable, so that then there are more cars to make it economically viable. It's a chicken and egg story. And then once you've done the first seed funding or put in those essential outlets, you know, we all know that BP, Shell, Caltex, and all the other petro companies are going to have fast DC charging at every petrol station, like they do in Europe. It's just that we don't have that critical mass yet. So yeah, the government needs to step up. And the thing is, they can get a triple bottom line, because all of these roadhouses are burning hundreds of litres of diesel per day just to power themselves, just for aircon, refrigeration, and pumping fuel. If all of those sites were put onto renewable energy, the beautiful thing is that the, 20 cars a year or 50 cars EVs that you charge is almost nothing compared to the solar you're collecting every day and the diesel you're abating from being burnt every day at these remote locations. It's, in Western Australia, Western Power and Horizon can do that. Western Power are already doing it for remote sites at the end of lines where they're doing that trial, or they've done the trial to put effectively an off-grid system, although they still tie it to the grid. Notionally,
the microgrids.
Yes, you have a microgrid.
So Marble Bar put solar panels in about 4 years ago, and it's reduced their diesel use by 400,000 litres a year.
Well, is it Tennant Creek? I think was a place where they had the diesel generators all lined up for the, to feed Tennant Creek. Then they had the ground-mounted solar boosting it as well. So during the daytime, I think it was Tennant Creek.
Was it Timber Creek?
Or Timber Creek? Sorry, Timber Creek. You're dead right, Robert. Definitely was Timber Creek. So that's the win-win. And at a roadhouse, what you can do is you have battery storage and solar, but you also connect their diesel generators as a backup. So if you've got crappy weather days or whatever, you'll just either feed off the diesel gens themselves or just use them to top up the batteries. And that sort of system, you're stopping the burning of diesel every day, and you're also providing a means of having a fast DC charging location.
And run the whole thing on veg oil, and it's carbon neutral.
Or veg oil, if you're, well, that's right. Yeah. But you can even skip the burning phase altogether and go straight to renewables. Well, I mean, veg oil is renewable too, actually, like literally. But yeah, so
yeah, and the thing is, it's about reducing our overall diesel use from every vehicle, every generator, the whole lot across the country. So the issue is we've got a government that's saying we want to see a report on how much it's going to cost, and then the people who are challenged to do the report, they're like, oh, no, I can't put diesel in this, it's not right, I need to be renewable. So they just put it in the too hard basket. And for every day we don't have charging infrastructure between these major cities, we've got dealerships just keep selling, petrol burning cars. So they've got to bite the bullet now and do something.
The other great point too is that even if they try and claim that a diesel generator, if it was a diesel generator, charging an EV on a road trip is a bad thing. The point is, the vast majority of EV use is urban, and then it's only once or twice or 3 times a year where we actually go on a road trip. So, you know, we're sort of like, for 98% of the time, we're super clean, running on solar power, and helping to fix grid problems, you know, in large urban areas. And it's only, you know, 2% of the time that we're actually on a road trip.
Let me sort of put this in Targa West perspective, right? So what we're talking about here is driving from Perth to Broome or Perth to Darwin or Perth to Adelaide, all right? And, you know, we need to be able to charge to get there, right? So the Targa West tarmac rally that we're about to embark on tomorrow, and I'm going to leave this soon because I need to go to sleep because I need to have my wits about me tomorrow, right? But you know what? They are changing the regulations, right? And it's a lot to do with Florian's persistence. You know, credit to Florian. Over the years of different guys, Joseph's been involved, and a few others, and me, and this and the other. But they realise, right? The organisers realise that if we are going to participate, now we pay $4,500 to entry fee for this event next 4 days, right? We have to, you know, we have to be able to finish, right? And we've explained to them it's taken a while to learn over the last 4 or 5 years. We need to be able to charge, right? We got to charge if we're going to get to the end, because we're using it, you know, we're using it at 6 times the rate of normal driving, and to do that, we're going to have to charge. So you're going to have to allow us to charge. So they've changed the regulations. They've said, because normally refueling is a dedicated refueling park for the petrol vehicles for safety reasons. They have a fire truck there and all that stuff, right? Excellent. Well, we don't have that risk, right? So we're allowed to charge on the side of the road. We're allowed to charge anywhere, as long as it's not on a stage, right? So if we're on a public road, we can find somewhere to stop and we can do that, right? And now they're even extending it further because there's certain services that we're supposed to turn up to. We can't do anything because our charge is at a different location. So they're allowing us, they've written into the regulations to allow us so that we can complete the event, all right? Now we're expecting some grizzles and this and that maybe from some of the petrol guys, but at the end of the day, it's in the regulations that we can do that. And I think what we need to do in this country is say, if you want to increase the participation in electric vehicles, we have to allow them to drive from Perth to Adelaide or Perth to Darwin. So all this money that West Australia is making and delivering to the Federation, let's put a little bit back to them, even though there's only 6 cars a year. Well, let's put the infrastructure in and then let's make it 200, 300. And even if it's loss making, doesn't matter. It's part of the Federation. I mean, how much?
John, the reason why there's only 6 cars a year is because there are no chargers.
Well, exactly.
And I mean, Elon Musk has said that if they want to open up a new market, all they do is put chargers in and then the demand comes. Exactly. But he said people aren't stupid. They're not going to buy an electric car if they can't charge it.
Well,
outside the house.
And that's the first question everyone asks is, where can you charge, right? And,
exactly.
You know, you're exactly right. Put the chargers in and they will come, right? So
Could I ask you a question, John? How much diesel does it take to charge up a car on your diesel generators? Do you know?
I've got the numbers. So if I'm running my generators on diesel, right? Like diesel you buy from BP or something like that, I get 3.4 kilowatt hours per litre of diesel.
Nigel, what's your average fuel consumption? What hours per?
Since new, 143 or 144.
Okay, so your car runs at 4.2 litres per 100 kilometres off a diesel generator.
4.2.
4.2 litres per 100 kilometres.
Equivalent.
Equivalent.
If you were running on if we were charging you with a generator, you'd be consuming 4.2. Because Rob knows all these numbers. We did these tests a couple of years ago, right?
But that's there's a lot of losses in there as well.
Are we accounted for that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we did was we measured an exact amount of we did an exact amount of charging into a whole bunch of Teslas over 10 hours, right? And we had 10 Teslas show up 1 hour apart over a 10-hour period, and ran the generator for that time, and then we measured how much went in. Rob did all the, it's in, I think it's in the TOCWA website, isn't it? Still that report?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And then we calculated, I measured exactly how much diesel we used, and we worked out how many we worked out the kilometers per litre. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Or litres per 100 kilometres, whichever one it was, right? Whichever way around.
Can you remember when it was roughly, John, when you did that trial, roughly? What month or what year?
Rob.
You've got your microphone.
No, you got to unmute.
Rob, you got to unmute.
Yeah, I was trying to look for the story, so I went into another website. It was December 2018.
December 2018.
Hey, Nigel, you can work it out yourself. When I'm charging with the generators, about 3.4 kilowatt hours into your car per litre of diesel.
Right.
And
okay, here it is. EV charging with diesel-powered charge pod skid. A solution for locations of inadequate power. So, no, I don't know how to make that bigger.
There's the cars, BMW i3.
Yep.
4.3 per litres per 100 kilometre, Tesla Model S, Model X.
Yeah, that one was mine, 5.6 litres per 100 kilometre on a 7-seat SUV. And and you could say that's worst case. That's the inverted commas dirtiest method of charging an EV.
You're looking at Toyota Land Cruisers, things that 12, 14, 15 litres per 100 kilometres, so it's
that test was that was real figures, because you actually measured the litres that went into the generator. So we accounted for the charging losses between the generator and the tritium.
Yeah, it includes all the losses. So
yeah.
That's what I was trying to say, is that the real amount would have been a lot less than the 4.3 litres.
Yes, if you didn't have all the losses of
the losses,
all that stuff. Yeah.
Ordinarily, you wouldn't have those losses. Yeah.
You gotta keep the losses in there, because you're burning diesel.
Yeah.
Half is going up as smoke, as heat. Then it goes through the tritium, gets all the losses in there, through the inverters and shit in the car and everything. By the time it gets in the battery, and then you go and do your distance, they're real figures, right?
Yep.
So they're half what the equivalent car would do on running a diesel car. I think we did another test, Rob, didn't we? With the Volvo that time. Remember, we got a 5-cylinder Volvo.
That's right. We got the most efficient Volvo there is, and we run it on the same roads at the same time against our Model S. And it was actually a really good day for driving. So both cars got good range, and the Tesla Model S performance was better. Fuel consumption.
Yes. So what we did was we filled the Volvo right up to the top of the filler cap, and then we charged Rob up to a certain level, whatever, and then off they went, did 100 Ks or whatever, came back, and then we charged Rob up, and we measured the amount of diesel. We measured the amount of diesel to fill up the Volvo and compared it, and it was, the Tesla did better than the bloody Volvo, right? So I can't remember exact.
That was with the air conditioning on. Another thing, John, with that test we did, your generator was barely bedded in. So I reckon that generator with another 50 hours on it would have been even better fuel consumption.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, absolutely. Cool. Harking back to where John mentioned a while ago about the dodginess of the Border Village, the Border Village outlet, right?
Don't you love that?
Well,
Look at that.
here's something even dodgier at Tennant Creek. This is a Red Rooster outlet. There's the counter, and this plug hanging down is one of the fat fryers, the chip fryers, which the manager kindly unplugged so I could plug my extension lead to go out of the drive-through window, out through the drive-through lane into my car. Because when you're in the bush, you've just got to charge any way you can.
That's awesome. The best part about that picture is the car, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Look, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to be an Australian, really, when you look at this. This is just bullshit.
It's third world country stuff, really.
It is.
Well, that's exactly, that's the kind of thing you'd see in the third world.
Expect that in the back blocks of Indonesia.
Well, Pete, you had a call in answer to the guy in, I think was it Mozambique?
Mozambique, correct.
Who was asking about his upcoming Cybertruck, whether he could charge it in Africa and what issues there would be. Well, I dare say there'd be a fast food outlet somewhere in Africa that you could just do just this.
That's why I identified with his predicament.
Can we organise a cyber bomb, like these sort of pictures, and just bomb all the politicians so they, every time they turn on their computer, bam, 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 bam. Like those kind of,
it's funny you say that, because Elon Musk was tweeted at for, was it 12 or I think it was 12 days in a row from one guy that said, I want waypoints on navigation. Day one.
That's right.
And then day two, he tweeted to Elon, I want waypoints on navigation. He got to day 12, I think it was day 12, and Elon Musk replied and said, oh, so you really want waypoints, do you?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he said, are the waypoints that important to
Yes.
you? But
So
yeah, he got his way.
You're right, John. We need to, en masse, tweet. Well, actually, it's a very good point. We need to en masse tweet. At this stage, the WA state government ministers to say we want EV chargers, fast DC charging throughout the state. And, Rita Saffioti said, and she's the Transport Minister, she assured all West Australians that when the federal government announced multi-billion-dollar funding on the basis of you've got to use it or you lose it, she assured the state that she would not lose a single cent of any of that funding. It would all be used, and I think it had to be utilised by a fairly short time frame, like less than a year. It was whatever it was. All these fast DC charging locations, particularly in the towns, are shovel ready. You can install these things. If you pulled your finger out, you could install them in a couple of months if you really tried hard. And of course, you're using all the local labour of the local electrician, the local civil works company, whatever.
Seems to me it's not the amount of money. I think it seems to be the somehow they haven't got the persuasion. I mean, look,
it can't be the amount of money, John. You're absolutely right, because what you were saying, Harold, the 30 million would be less than 0.5% of that federal money, whatever amount it was. I worked it out.
1.5 billion or whatever it was. Yeah.
They're spending 50 million on a footbridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and like I
So
said,
it's definitely not the money. It can't be the money.
Has anyone been down to Coburn Central lately? There's the amount of earthworks going on the Armadale,
The new road.
the Armadale Road diversion, right? So they're going to put Armadale Road over Tapper Road, fucking under somewhere else, and then over the freeway. Like there must be 40 scrapers and 1,000 trucks there, like making. They've just fixed all the roads there about 4 years ago. Now they're ripping it all up. It must be hundreds of $1 million works going on down there. And what for, right? Okay, it's a bit of traffic congestion, which you live with, right? But Jesus Christ. I mean, does the main roads get audited about how they spend all this money? I mean, do you ever hear anyone saying, are they, you know what I mean? And we're talking about 30 million, nothing.
well, on Manning Road, there's a new on-ramp that goes south on the freeway, and it's a single on-ramp. It's effectively what it is.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I've been on it. It's nice.
Yeah, it's very nice, and that costs 35 million.
Fuck.
So for one on-ramp, you could have gold-plated fast DC charging all the way to Kununurra.
Yeah.
And
before, all you had to do was do a U-turn up round and come back.
That was two light changes, and it was inconvenient. So now they've done what they should have done all along, which is, but that costs a cool 35 million.
But what puts it into perspective for me is the city of Wanneroo, which is just one council, just in Perth, spends $30 million a year on maintenance of green parks and football fields and public open space.
So that's lawn mowers on lawn mowing fuel and
exactly
blades.
But that's $30 million a year. So so what's that? 300 million over 10 years, 450 million over 15 years. Those charges would last 10 or 15 years, and that's just one council in Perth.
Yep. And all we want is 30 million once
for the whole state.
Problem is we're talking to the converted. That's we all agree, right? How do we fix it?
Who's the minister? Dave Kelly at iDrive. He introduced. Sorry, I think he sort of opened it. He did state that there was going to be a policy on EVs or EV charging by the end of this year. So that's
so now's the plan to have a plan?
No, that wasn't that one. It was going to be a proper policy.
Dave Kelly's a sort of middle of the road minister, right? So he writes up his draft, and then it has to pass through some of those bigger name ministers like Alana and Bill Johnson and Ben Wyatt, and then they throw it back at his desk after 2 weeks and say, "No, change it." And he has to go through that crap for the next 6 to 8 weeks. That's the problem.
Hey Nigel, how does your picture work there? Sometimes I can see all of your head, then sometimes when you lean back, you disappear behind the SpaceX picture. What the fuck's going on there?
Right. I keep losing my mind.
Right, is that right?
Yeah.
What it is, John, is Nigel's using his computer he hasn't got a green screen like.
He's it's just a virtual image of him, is it?
See, I've got.
That's real. That's a real picture.
I've got a green screen. So if I turn my
Rob, you've got how's the picture behind you? How does that?
I've got your car painted on the wall.
Yeah, bullshit. That's a screen. Must be some kind of screen.
It's just on the video thing. You can click it so that it opens up, and then you can choose virtual background.
Okay, look.
But I don't have a green screen, and obviously my computer power is just not quite enough to
it's only when you move. It's only when you move.
Yeah, I actually have to have a green screen because my computer isn't powerful enough to do it any other way. So I just went to Spotlight, and just bought a green curtain, or just green material.
Right.
And that way I can get rid of all the background.
So how do you get that picture there? Is that on the?
Oh, no, you just select it. So if I just share, this should work. I think you can you see this screen here in front with me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So under Zoom, you just go into where your camera bit is, where you enable camera, and there's a little arrow. You just click on that, and it comes up with these settings. So there's background and filters.
Right.
So you can have none, which is just your plain background, or the default is Golden Gate Bridge and a few others. And of course, I've just loaded up the Cybertruck awesome video.
Yeah.
And that, so you can sort of pick whatever you like.
All right. So,
but like I said, in my case, my computer's about 5 years old, so it didn't have the computing power to do what Nigel's is doing mostly well. But because he's got those cool Beats headphones on, yeah, see, it's a bit easier. Yeah, that's right. See, because the computer is trying to work out where his head is and where his body is, and sometimes it doesn't do a great job.
Now, I've got a couple of green screens. I'll hang one up maybe for next week if I remember.
Very
see
good.
if it's any better.
It's unawesome. It's unawesome.
Then John won't be so upset.
And mind you, it doesn't have to be green. You can actually pick any color, but as long as it's preferably not the color of your clothes or your eyes or your skin tone or whatever, otherwise it will disappear. So, for instance, this, this
my
right? See how it's got green there?
My phone disappears as well.
Yeah.
Hey guys,
so now,
I'm gonna say good night because I got responsibilities tomorrow, and wish me well.
Yeah, good luck.
All right, John. See ya.
Cheers, guys.
I'm gonna make a break as well.
Cheers. No worries, Rod. Take care.
Yeah, cheers.
See you, Rod.
Hey, Rod.
See you soon.
Oh, we've lost Rob.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. So hopefully with anyway, no, doesn't matter. Hang on. Rightio. Yeah, cool. So any other news items or anything? I think we're pretty well maxed out. I think we got another satellite launch coming up soonish.
Hey, we've got the profit results at 4:30 in the morning.
Oh yes.
Too early.
Pete, I totally forgot that. Actually, speaking of which, what's Tesla's share price?
It's up a little bit today.
Oh yeah, 423.
425.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, actually, that's a very good point. So that's the quarterly earnings report, which should be very interesting. Have you noticed, Pete, what questions Rob Mauer's got on Say?
Oh, on say.com.
Because no doubt he's got the most upvoted. Because
he made a pledge not to take up 3 out of 3 questions.
Yes, he's only doing 2 questions now.
Yeah, he's only doing 2. Yeah, but yeah, let me see if I can find it. That's actually a good point.
Because I think on that hour-long episode, he did say what the questions were, but I think both of them were 2-part questions, but they were sort of related.
I started listening to the profit forecast today and couldn't get through it. It was about 20 minutes.
I haven't seen it. Oh, right. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I haven't seen that.
I started listening to it in the car on TuneIn. Yeah. Here we go. Robert M asks, is Tesla planning to start 4680 cell production at Giga Berlin at the same time as vehicle production? Good question. Can
Yes.
Tesla share more information on what products will use the battery cells from the pilot line in Fremont?
Oh, yes.
And surprise, surprise, he's got the second question as well. So the second question is, does Tesla's tabless cell design allow for significantly higher peak charging rates? Does it improve the required taper curve? So you would assume the answer to that would be yes, but be interesting to see by how much.
Although back in battery day, the graphs I was showing were actually comparing the worsening of charging rates compared to a 2170, but it was very flat. Like traditionally on a normal battery, the curve went up. So I'm not know which way I'm going, up that way. But with the tabless design, it was very flat for derating supercharging. So I'm not actually certain that the 4680s would be any quicker per se, but I don't know.
So I was just assuming because you've got, 50 mil rather than 250 mil to run, you've got a freeway now rather than a suburban road going to the battery. I would have assumed it would work both ways.
Well, that's right. Yeah, actually, your internal resistance is less because you've got no tab. So, or it doesn't have to go all the way around the jelly roll. So, yeah, you might be right there, Pete. Because I think the graph he showed was just simply increasing the diameter of the battery. But then I think because it was tabless, that sort of got derated. Yeah, don't know. It's a good question. Let's hope Elon answers it properly. Yeah. And not, sort of flippantly. Yeah, cool. Well, it's great to see. I mean, Rob, I did hear the other day that he's got over 100,000 YouTube subscribers. So, he's got a big presence.
And he's only been running that YouTube channel for what, 6 months, less than a year.
Yeah, roughly. I think he said roughly approaching a year. He did that and went from nothing to 100,000. And I think it's a good idea because it's funny when you mentioned that you were listening to it. I often listen to it in the car on YouTube, but just have the phone, in the console. So I don't actually look at it, but just listen. But you actually miss a fair bit of content, especially when it's got to do with forecasts or projections, because you put up Excel spreadsheets. Yeah. And then I've got to sort of stop listening to it and wait till I get home to actually look at the actual visuals.
His spreadsheet.
Yeah, the spreadsheets. Otherwise you lose a fair bit of context.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, good scoop there, Pete. That's a very late scoop at about 10:05. Yeah, of course. So what? And that's going to start at, is it 5 a.m. or 5:30 our time?
Well, they usually put the letter out first, the announcement, which is usually within the first half hour of the market closing. So NASDAQ closes at 4 p.m. Eastern time, which is minus 4 hours GMT, I think. So we're +8, so 4 a.m. our time. So I'm thinking by 4:30, the announcement should be out, and then they'll probably start a call after that sometime.
Okay, we have documents, events, 21st of October. Yeah, it's 5:30, Pete. Because it's 5:30 Eastern, and they're 12 hours.
But that's for the conference call though.
That's for the earnings call. Yes.
Yeah. So the actual announcement would probably come out half an hour before, or probably an hour before, you'd think. Yes,
and I must admit, to my shame, I don't actually stay up that early to read that. I just go straight to the verbal bit, and read the announcement later. But yeah,
seems like the market's sort of onto. They're not, as far off as what they have been, what it's been in the past. Seems like the market's starting to get a bit more savvy about Tesla's financials.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the risk that they factored in is that they've removed a lot of risk from their projections. Because I was just presuming that they couldn't ramp, the Y or whatever. And I think, with Berlin having so much progress, and even the Terra factory in Texas having its first, albeit, one tiny piece of the paint shop, I think it's been surmised it might be. And Shanghai going gangbusters, and even the press release of shipping cars to Europe, Model 3s. They've got to stop denying that Tesla's a huge growth story, and they can't do which. Can you remember which is the analyst that just does the 2-year DCF?
No.
It's one of the big ones.
It's a JP Morgan guy.
JP Morgan. Yeah. Well, JP Morgan as the company or as the manager or whatever, or bank, 2-year discounted cash flow. That's it. End of story. That's all they do.
You know what? In one ear, out the other. What's his name? Jamie Dimon. He's the CEO of JP Morgan. So he's been, a couple of years ago, he was probably the biggest, at least the most outspoken critic of Bitcoin. He was absolutely trashing it. And then 6 months later, everyone found out at the same time he was publicly trashing it. He was building his own trading desk at JP Morgan, and his own guys were trading it. So,
look
at what they do, not what they say.
Aren't those firms supposed to have Chinese walls, just quietly?
Yeah, Chinese walls. Yeah.
There's a YouTuber who refers to them as JP Moron.
And you know what, Nigel? That was a very diplomatic way of putting that, because you didn't say they were morons. You just said
no. That's his opinion. No, he does. He calls them JP Moron.
There's also a YouTuber that calls CNBC CNBS.
Yes, that's right. Exactly. Oh dear. Cool. All right. Well, maybe on that bright note, we might call it a night. Obviously, in the lead up to the earnings call, which will be very interesting, and I guess we can come back next week and do this all over again.
Well, I do hope that it's good and the share price goes up, because I've bought 20 or 25 shares.
Oh, nice work.
And I like your background, Nigel. Nice work.
Yeah, brilliant. Yes, I like the fact that they're pointing upwards, even though they are landing. Yes. So there's a mixed metaphor there, but
that's a good point, Harold.
Excellent. All righty. Well, on that note, I think we'll call it a night. So everyone have a good night. Look after yourselves.
See you guys.
Thanks for watching all the those do, and we'll see you next week.
See you guys.
All right. Take care.
See ya.